Now these are my practice sheets. I do a practice sheet for every painting that I do, even though I've been painting for many years. Now the reason I don't use masking fluid, can you see how soft everything is? Where the white meets that ultramarine blue at the top for the sky, and a little bit of detail, because the wave would have some detail in it, wouldn't just be pure white. But I've decided I want a wave behind a wave. So let's just talk about painting seafoam and waves, particularly without masking fluid. Now these are my practice sheets. I do a practice sheet for every painting that I do, even though I've been painting for many years. I work out my colour palette, I try all my tricks and techniques, I see how it will all go together with wet in wet on a panel on the right hand side. I write myself little notes and things to think about so that I will make all my mistakes on here. Now this is my latest one and I will talk about that a little bit later. Now this is a new colour that I'm using, turquoise, and I've noticed that if you mix it with burnt sienna you get this beautiful jade green. But because I don't use it very often, I do need to make sure that it actually lifts, because that is the secret of my paintings, is putting paint on and taking paint off. So just with a damp brush, I'm just making sure that that will lift. And your painting, your paper is also very important. And this is Bockingford. And also ultramarine added with a little bit of burnt sienna will give you a navy blue. And if you add it with a bit more burnt sienna, you'll get a black. But you do have to be careful sometimes, so this is why it's good to test it. Can you see how those two colours separate? Can you see the brown coming through? Well, I quite like that. The little dots, that's salt, ignore that. But I quite like the brown, but you do need to be aware of it. So here we go. This is my sheet to show you how I start with painting a wave. So I've just done a little bit of wet in wet and I've added a little bit of blue there for the sky. Now this white area is going to be the waves. That's the top of the wave. So I'm just wetting a little bit further down. I didn't have to wait for it to dry properly. And I'm going to add the lightest colour, which is like a turquoise blue. So I'll start here, and what you've got to do is think about the areas you want to leave white. Now the reason I don't use masking fluid, can you see how soft everything is? Where the white meets that ultramarine blue at the top for the sky is a really soft edge. If you had masking fluid, that would have a really, really hard line. And that would be difficult to get rid of. And you would have to take it off and somehow soften it later. So I don't use it at all. That's one reason I don't use it. Because actually, as you paint a wave, I'm sort of making this up as I go along, it changes, it organically grows, you can change it. So I don't want to be so strict and set something in stone as to where I want the white areas to go. You see here, I can take out some white areas quite easily with what they call a thirsty brush, which is like a dry brush, and I can just lift out any white bits as I go along, as I'm thinking about it. It's organically growing. I can soften edges, I can take bits out. You wouldn't be able to do that as easily if you'd actually put masking fluid on to start with. So I'm just softening these bottom edges here. I don't like that. I'm going to change the shape of that. And then I'm going to start adding some darker blue, like an ultramarine blue, quite bold. And this is going to be underneath where the waves would curl over. So they're like the deep shadowed areas. So just underneath the waves, underneath the white horses, if you like, the white horses part of the wave, you would have the shadow just underneath there. And I'm softening this edge with some clear water. Now you wouldn't be able to do that if you've got masking fluid on it, so that's another reason. So I'm just manipulating this here, adding bits, thinking, do I need to put some more colour in? And what I'm doing is I'm just dropping just drops of water, because they create a nice pattern too. So I'm thinking about all the techniques that I know and I've learnt over the years, and I'm just trying them out. Some of them I'll use, some of them I won't. Let's just see how this turns out at the end. Now it doesn't look like anything at the moment, but please just bear with me. So I'm speeding this up for you so that you don't all fall asleep And I'm wetting an extra patch here, putting a bit more colour in, and just doing the same sort of thing. And then I'll add some different colours, some navy blues, and then I might add some of that dark blue underneath this little white area here. Some more shadowed areas. And I've added a little bit of that nice green there. I think I'll put a little bit more of that down here at the front. I like that new colour. Every day's a learning day. Some richer blues, and then add a bit more water. Lift off some paint if I need to. Add a bit more shadow. And just keep looking at it. It's all still wet, it's not dried. Now with a rigger is a long bristle brush, I'm just dragging some clear water through this damp area here, just to see if I can get anything that resembles those beautiful patterns that you see in the sea. Can you see those little traced white lines? Now I might not use this, I might use cling film instead. I've got a video on that on my YouTube channel that also creates beautiful patterns, which I will show you later. But let's just try it and see. Now I'm going to get rid of that little line there, that hard line. See how easy it is if you use non-staining colours on the right paper. Now I'm wetting this other side. Now hopefully it'll all begin to make a little bit more sense now. So same thing, put your lighter colour on first. Now you can see where I've left that big white patch there. Well, that's going to be the wave crashing over. And this area here with the blue is like the shadow underneath the wave. So lots of rich, deep colours here, particularly around the edge of the wave itself. And then I might just put a little bit of foreground in, a bit of dry brushing, a few twinkly bits you can see there. And a little bit of detail, because the wave would have some detail in it, wouldn't just be pure white. But I've decided I want a wave behind a wave. So hopefully this will make sense in a little bit. Put a little bit darker here. Then I'll blend that out. Like that. So you can see there's like a wave behind a wave. I'm going to add a bit of salt. Let's see what the salt does. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It can create really nice patterns. Lift off a bit more. And then just these hard lines again. Now this is all dried, so I'm using a stiff bristle brush here. And it doesn't matter the fact that it's dried, because they're non-staining colours and Bocking for paper, you can get all of these lines off. You see, you just give a little bit of a gentle twiddle and they come off beautifully. So you can lift off paint if you sort of lost a little bit of your white. I think I want to straighten this edge here actually. And you just carry on lifting off areas that you want. Okay, I'm also going to soften these white lines at the front. Can you see the pattern of the salt just above? It's quite nice. I might just leave that. Let's just soften these little lines here. It doesn't get rid of the white, it just softens them. Okay, add a little bit more colour in this wave. And then I'm working on dry now, just to emphasise this wave at the front. So I'm just putting a dark colour in on dry, and then with a damp brush, I'm just teasing that in to the colour behind. Okay, so just with a toothbrush and some white gouache paint, let's just get a few splatters of white on there. It just adds a bit of movement. Okay, so you can see that that's looking better now. And this was just a planning sheet, and I will show you my final piece here, which I've started. So there's the drawing of the lifeboat. You can see it faintly. And this is where I'm up to with the waves. Now I did decide to actually use cling film instead in that foreground area. I felt it was better. So I hope that's helped you in some way to be brave enough to go and try a wave, because people seem to think it's really difficult. But I do think masking fluid will make your job harder. So go away and have fun, and let's just see how you get on.